everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Now, does anyone remember Disney's Fantasia movies? Well, for those who don't know about them, or have not seen my blogs from 2018, the Fantasia movies feature a series of animated segments set to classical pieces of music. But out of all those segments, the one that's considered the most classical and magical would have to be The Sorcerer's Apprentice, starring Mickey Mouse and his teacher, Master Yen Sid. And to this very day, this segment is considered a legendary classic, and to me, I love the animation, the story, and the music, which was put together in the late 1890s by French composer Paul Dukas. And I love how Disney references this segment in the nighttime show Fantasmic and in the Kingdom Hearts series. Anyway, on the topic of The Sorcerer's Apprentice, tonight, I'd like to share my thoughts on a live-action adaptation which was produced over a decade ago by Jerry Bruckheimer. So let's get started. Released on July 14th, 2010, the movie is, well, The Sorcerer's Apprentice. And now, let's get started. Dave Stutler is just an average guy, but the wizard Balthazar Blake sees in him a hidden talent for sorcery. He becomes Balthazar's reluctant protege, getting a crash course in the art of magic. As Dave prepares to help his mentor defend Manhattan from a powerful adversary, he wonders if he can survive the training, save the city, and find his true love. So, what do I personally think of the film? Well, in my opinion, I enjoyed it. I never really saw it in theaters, though I wanted to. It's just that during the time of its theatrical release, me and my family were getting prepared to go on a summer European vacation to London and Italy at the time. But I was fortunate to receive the movie on DVD during Christmas 2010, and nowadays, I would label this film in the underrated category. But now, let's move on to Mustang notes. The movie was directed by John Turteltaub, who also directed The Kid, the National Treasure movies, and The Meg. And I mentioned during my top 15 Disneyland attractions that he'll be directing an upcoming It's a Small World movie. The basic idea for the film was mostly Nicolas Cage's, who wanted to explore a mystic world and play a character with magical powers, and following a suggestion by his producer friend Todd Garner, decided to make a feature-length movie based upon the Fantasia segment of the same name. On February 12, 2007, the film was announced by Disney, and references to the original animation include the scene where Dave animates mops to clean up his laboratory and having Mickey Mouse's hat in the post-credits scene. The Sorcerer's Apprentice is set in New York City, and most scenes were shot on location in places such as Washington Square Park and Chinatown's Eldridge Street. Dave's laboratory was filmed in either an abandoned subway station located under the New York City Hall or a studio recreation of it. To make the magic more believable, it was decided to have an emphasis on practical on-set effects, such as making real fire with fluids or flash powder being used for colored flames. To provide a lighting reference for the plasma bolts, the actors wore gloves with LED displays to make them glow before adding the computer-generated shots. For floating objects, they were either thrown with wires or held by stuntmen wearing green chroma key suits. But unfortunately, after making approximately $215.3 million out of its $150 million budget, the movie became a box office disappointment. But despite that, the movie won top box office films at the ASCAP Film and Television Music Awards And I find it pretty funny that the movie was released not only during the same year that another live-action Disney remake was released, which was Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, but it was also during the year when I got my big break at Musical Theater Village as the great and powerful Wizard of Oz. And ever since then, my friends at Musical Theater Village kept on saying that I passed with flying colors, especially after performing as Cardamon in Once Upon a Mattress several months ago. Also, in my opinion, while the cinematography is kind of dated to today's standards, I still like the setting in New York City, and like I said many times, I've been to the Big Apple twice in my life. Plus, some parts are, in my opinion, kind of reminiscent to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, and the magic training and fight scenes are pretty great in my opinion, but I don't think it could ever hold a candle to the magic in J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World franchise. Also, I kind of like that the movie uses magical legends, such as the wizard Merlin from the King Arthur stories, as part of the plot. And I think the opening prologue was very interesting, epic, and thought-provoking. And that's all I got for Mustang notes, so let's move on to the cast. Let's start with Balthazar Blake, played by Nicolas Cage, whom was not only in the National Treasure movies, but he was also in the Croods movies, The Ant Bully, 2009's G-Force, 2009's Astro Boy, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Years ago, Balthazar was an apprentice to Merlin, and for countless years, Balthazar has been searching the globe until he finds the prime Merlinian, the descendant of Merlin and inheritor of great magical powers. But during the year 2000, when Balthazar finally discovers him in 10-year-old Dave Stutler, he finds himself with a very reluctant sorcerer's apprentice. To me, Balthazar is kind and gentle, but also stern and solemn, and he tries his best to teach Dave how to embrace his destiny as Prime Merlinian. Also, Balthazar's character is kind of like a mix of Dumbledore from the Harry Potter series, Yoda from Star Wars, Merlin from The Sword and the Stone, and Master Yen Sid from Disney's Fantasia. Our main character, Dave Stutler, is played by Jay Baruchel, whom during the same year voiced Hiccup in DreamWorks' How to Train Your Dragon. Dave is a New York University physics major who pretty much lacks confidence and poise, and he's not very popular with girls or even his fellow students. When he was 10 years old, Dave wandered into the bizarre Arcana Cabana Curio shop, and he was given a dragon ring that comes to life on his finger. And he was told by Balthazar that he'll be a very important sorcerer himself. And ever since witnessing a furious battle between Balthazar and Maxim Horvath, Dave has been spending his life trying to forget that moment. To me, while Dave can be pretty brave at times, he can also be a bit nerdy, clumsy, and insecure. But as the film progresses, he becomes a bright and talented young sorcerer, kind of like how Mickey was. Next we come to Dave's love interest, Rebecca Becky Barnes, played by Teresa Palmer, whom I remember from 2005's Wolf Creek. Becky is a young woman who attends NYU and works at the campus radio station where she enjoys playing and listening to songs. You know, I find Becky to be a very easygoing and kind person, and she's very understanding of those around her. Her calm and friendly demeanor makes it pretty easy for socially awkward people like Dave to talk to her. Plus, she's also a fun-loving person who often makes well-meaning jokes and sarcastic quips, and she has a very strong-willed and perseverant nature. Next we come to the central antagonist, Maxim Horvath, played by La Sombra / Doc Ock himself, Alfred Molina. Horvath was once friends with his fellow apprentices, but he unfortunately became embittered when Veronica chose Balthazar over himself and eventually betrayed and turned against them and Merlin by joining forces with the evil sorceress Morgana Le Fay. And he makes it his mission to dominate the world. And he believes that magic should be used to subjugate humans. To me, Horvath is a very sophisticated, well-mannered, and cultured man, always impeccably collected and polite, even when he's about to kill somebody. Plus, he's cold-hearted, cares only about himself, and he disposes of his followers and allies without second thoughts. Plus, as usual, Alfred Molina pulls off a well-done villainous performance. Finally, we come to the main antagonist, Morgana Le Fay, played by Alice Cridge, whom I remember from the Christmas Prince trilogy. Morgana is a powerful witch whom years ago engaged in a feud against Merlin for quite some time, which culminated in the latter's death. Her main goal is to enslave the human race by casting a dark and powerful spell that would bend them to her will with the aid of the souls of past conjurers who practiced in dark magic. To me, while she doesn't really have a lot of screen time, Morgana is cruel and merciless. Also, she's shown to be an elegant, graceful, and charismatic woman, speaking with a proper English accent, and being able to lure many sorcerers into becoming Morganians over the millenniums. Also, she possesses a version of telekinesis, as well as elemental abilities such as fire and electricity, and she can be very dangerous due to her having the ability to possess people. Other actors in the movie include Toby Kebbell as Drake Stone, Omar Benson Miller as Dave's roommate Bennett, Monica Bellucci as Balthazar's love interest Veronica, James A. Stephens as Merlin, and Gregory Wu as the Chinese wizard Sunlock. And now on to my final words. Overall, The Sorcerer's Apprentice isn't really that bad of a movie. Sure, it may have a few flaws, like the story being a bit cliched and the cinematography being a bit dated to today's standards, but still, in my opinion, the story was pretty interesting, epic, and thought-provoking. There were some pretty good references to the original Fantasia segment. The musical score by Trevor Rabin is excellent, and I think Paul Dukas would be very proud of how he redid his legendary symphony. The magic scenes are amazing and action-packed, and the visuals are absolutely incredible. However, I am kind of bummed that the movie was a huge flop at the box office, which is very sad, since this movie did have an after-credits cliffhanger, and a sequel might not ever happen. But still, I think this is a movie you should definitely check out if anyone is into films that involve magic, or if they have fresh Fantasia memories. Also, I hope sooner or later, the famous Mickey Mouse can accept me as one of his cast members once I apply for an occupation at the Californian happiest place on earth. Anyway, I give The Sorcerer's Apprentice a 70% out of 100. Well, that's all for now. Join me for my next blog, where we reunite with a living wooden puppet without strings. Mustang Power.